Dan RadioStyle, on this song I'd probably be playing Bright Side of the Road by Van Morrison. I miss playing the music. I know some of you guys do too. I know. It is what it is, but whatever. That being said, finding the bright side of situations. I guess sometimes I forget that I do this. I forget that this is a core part of who I am, and I forget that I think this actually helps me in my manifesting journey and my manifesting confidence and, a lot of that mind chatter and stuff, again, that I like to talk about because I really do think, as I've said before, Goddard's nailed it down, that aspect of imagining, creating that scene, right? Creating that reality in our head. We've talked about once it's real there, it's just a matter of trickling down through the dimensions, if you will, right? So it's becoming real and physical in our lives. So once you create it, boom, done, great. Esther Hicks is kind of very much about the being in the vortex, having your energy, right? Getting that kind of aligned, staying kind of in a good focus, right? Trying to maintain that. But it's that like prolonged period of time or the moments when we have our doubts or the chatter that gets us looking at our feet, as I frequently say, right? Looking at where I'm at right now and going, oh, I'll never have it because I don't right now. And well, that's not true. I mean, we all know, if you think about that from a logical standpoint, something that you're going to have tomorrow, you don't have right now. It's not that you'll never have it. You just don't have it right now. You're going to have it tomorrow. If you've never been to Disneyland and you're planning a trip next week to Disneyland, you have never been to Disneyland right now. But for you to say right now, I'll never go to Disneyland in my life, that's not true. That's not true at all. In fact, you're going next week. Shush, please. You're being overly dramatic like you always do, right? So finding the bright side of situations is a hugely helpful task. And I think some of it, maybe some of it's that faith and that spirituality part of me. So forgive me if I go astray in this regard. But to me, everything seems to happen for a reason. I've kind of felt that that's very true. For years, for many, many, many years, this has been a theory I've continued to test and still find that it holds true. For years, decades, couple decades plus, right? I have found that things seem to happen for a reason. When something happens and you acknowledge that right up front, like, okay, this is for a reason. Like this, otherwise, why would this be happening, right? Like, I know they could say it's us pushed out, and there's probably something to it, right? There's maybe something to heal. Maybe there's a lesson. Maybe it's contrast. I don't know. Oftentimes, I've done a show on it, hindsight's 2020. I guarantee once I get through this and everything's okay again, I can look back and go, yeah, that's what happened. Like, it'll make sense. I know it will make sense. I know it doesn't right now, but it will. But I know whatever this is, there's a reason for it. There's a purpose for it. There's something to this. So instantly that makes it easier for me to look at my now and not be upset about it, not be angry about it, not try to feel like, I got to change it immediately. Okay, it's the way it is for a reason. All right, let's get through this. I've had my heart broken multiple times, people. So for any of you that are out there and you've got this pain that you feel and you want it to stop, I know exactly what you're talking about. I totally do. And you would do anything to make it change. And unless it hasn't yet, there's a reason for this process. There's a reason why we're saying love yourself, get back on yourself, focus back on who you are, right? There's a lot of these things that matter, that help, that make a difference. So everything happens for a reason. Keep that in mind. Makes a big difference. It really does. And then when you start to identify what is it that's causing this, or what is it that this is showing me, then a lot of times there might be a lesson or something to heal, something within ourselves, maybe something that we're doing, maybe something we keep pointing the fingers at others and we're pointing three back at ourselves. Maybe we just finally realized, oh my gosh, I'm a hypocrite. Like, I'm doing this too, right? It can come in any number of ways. So pay attention to what it is. 2, we are all connected. Every one of us are connected. Our higher selves, I've talked about it with thought transmissions, like we are connected. Consciously, sometimes people can choose to tune you out. They may not understand that what they're feeling all of a sudden is a thought transmission or is some sort of perceived extrasensory experience with you. They may not know it. They may just, you pop into their head and all right, that's it. Like they don't realize that, no, they were just thinking about you. That's why they just popped into your head. Like just that second that thought transmission hit you, you were like busy cutting the crust off your sandwich because you don't like crust. And so you're cutting the crust off. And all of a sudden, Jamie's, Why are you in my head right now? You like crust. You always ate the crust that I cut off. And then you're like, oh, and then you have that little moment, right? Whatever. That was because they were thinking about you. See, again, we're connected. And all of us kind of help each other. We're all, well, this is a stage and we're all merely players, or whatever Shakespeare's quote was. I, screw it up often enough. But basically what he's saying is we're all actors, right? This is a big, giant play. We're all doing the performance of our lifetimes. But we're helping each other out. And we're coming and going, and we're left stage, right stage, and stage right, whatever, stage left, all that stuff happening. So, helps. We're connected. And what we choose to do also when we come here, and this is something that a lot of us maybe don't realize too, that helps, is we're here kind of to help our soul families too. You'll notice you feel very different about certain people. Like you'll hit them, and it's like we'll call them soulmates. We'll call them twin flames even sometimes, and that's kind of, I think, a little more of a microcosm. I actually did a show on this back at one point where I kind of went through the 5 different groupings. But you get out to like soul families level, and you'll have very, very interesting experiences with these people, parts that'll affect your lives forever. Stuff you'll go through some deep stuff together. Like you're going to have experiences that are meant to really kind of bridge gaps, teach lessons, fight for a good fight, being strong about something people have talked about. Do you think we get challenged in life sometimes? Yes, absolutely. You will be challenged. That's kind of how you hit the next level. It's like oil and water, maybe. I mean, that's a real simple example where you might have like 2 levels, right? You got that layer. There's a very specific layer, and you can shake it up sometimes, right? And it all mixes like salad dressing, right? But then eventually, if you let it settle, boom, the oil will go back up on top of the vinegar or the water or whatever's underneath, right? So when you do it that way, it will, well, it's kind of how our experiences are with people. Sometimes when you shake it up and you get into these upper levels, then you've tasted it, but maybe to stay there, sometimes we don't keep doing the effort and we sort of fall back down. So it's an issue of sometimes helping each other through that struggle and to keep pushing when it matters. So finding the bright side of situations is really taking what your now is, looking at it when we do, because frequently I've done just the show I did yesterday. I talked about kind of instant manifestations, and it's kind of been a focus of mine lately, and I apologize, but it really is, I think, one of the things that most of us struggle with and have the hardest time with when it comes to our manifestations is the concept of when it finally happens, right? And many of us are like, when it finally happens. Like even that thought process is actually kind of slowing it down. That's why kind of constantly focusing on where I'm at right now and how it's not here right now. And then we find ourselves trying to say something positive to make up for the fact that we don't have it right now. So because we're trying to do an affirmation to make up for it, right? But really, we kind of start to run into a problem when we do that too, because then we're sort of focusing on, oh, I will eventually be with them. I will finally have them. Eventually will happen. Like you start saying stuff over and over that puts it off and keeps putting it off and keeps putting it off. And so sometimes it's better to not worry about where we are right this very second and allow ourselves to finally create this thing. Because we keep focusing on the right now. We keep putting negative pressure. Handbrake. We keep slowing ourselves down, sometimes even stopping ourselves because we keep noticing that right now we don't have it. So it's that noticing that whatever's happening right now is for a reason. And these things that are happening, they work themselves out. They always do. Every time anything major's happened in your life, it's eventually worked itself out to some degree, right? Now, there may be consequences involved. There may be things that linger, but for the most part, you get through it and you're still alive and you're still moving along and you're still together or whatever, right? So that concept is still prevalent. So understand that you're going to go through things in life. That's part of it. There's growth, there's factors, there's things. It's something to it. Accept it as what it is. That's the difference between the master and a student, they say, is that when a master meets adversity, he understands that there is already a solution built into the problem. Otherwise, the problem wouldn't be here. The difference between the student is they see the problem and get very concerned about the problem, not realizing that the solution was what created the problem. Now I just have to find the solution. It's how it is with where we're at in our manifestation cycles right now. You're doing perfect. A lot of us think we're not. I must not be because I don't have it yet. No, that's not actually true. You don't have it yet because you keep focusing on how you don't have it yet. You're doing everything perfectly, except you keep focusing on your feet. Keep looking at your feet. Look out ahead. Look where you're going. Been saying this a lot lately. I don't know. I think it's just a repetition that's going to benefit most of us. Keep looking where you're going, and that is where you'll end up. Keep looking at your feet, and you will bump into something for sure. Pay attention to where you're going. Stay focused on where you're going. Where you're going is not where you are. Where you are is where you are. Where you're going is out there. Go out there. Be with it. Get your thing. Get it. Be with it. It's already real in your mind. It's just an issue of connecting with it. Hopefully this makes a difference. It's Dan RadioStyle. Thank you all for joining me. Please subscribe, share, like, thumbs up, all those great things. I appreciate all of you. Love you bunches. And put some comments in the show down below, like thoughts, like what are some shows that you're kind of curious about? What are questions you have about law of attraction? And maybe it'll turn into a future show. It's always good times that way. Thank you so much. We'll do more stuff soon. Have a great weekend, everybody.